Hi bakers, I'm Sally, and today I'm showing you just how easy it is to make homemade pizza dough. You only need 6 ingredients to make this soft, chewy pizza crust that tastes so much better than anything store-bought. Since I first published the recipe in 2019, it has received hundreds of 5-star reviews. Many readers have commented that it has even replaced the need for carry-out and delivery on pizza night. Let's get started. First, whisk warm water, yeast, and a little sugar in the bowl of your stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, that's totally fine. You can just use any large mixing bowl. Whisk this together. We're going to let the yeast proof for a few minutes. And then we'll cover and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes until it's foamy and frothy on top. That shows that the yeast is alive and active. Now we'll add the remaining ingredients: olive oil, salt, and flour. I'm just using regular all-purpose flour here. Add your dough hook attachment, and let's mix this together on low speed for about 2 minutes until combined. If you're not using your stand mixer, you can mix it together with a wooden spoon or silicone spatula. I love this recipe because it makes enough dough for 2 pizzas. You can make both, or you can freeze half of the dough for another time. Have a little bit of extra flour on hand. If the dough is looking a little bit sticky, add a little more flour, 1 teaspoon at a time, until it no longer sticks to the side of the bowl. Okay, this is good. Now the dough is ready to knead, and you can leave it in the mixer with the dough hook attachment, or you can knead it by hand on a lightly floured work surface. No matter if you're using your stand mixer or kneading by hand, this dough usually takes about 5 minutes of kneading until it's soft and stretchy. When kneading by hand, you're gently stretching the dough in a rocking motion, alternating hands as you go. Flour the dough if it becomes a little too sticky. I like to do this by hand because it's almost impossible to over knead it. Your hands would get very tired. To tell if your dough has been kneaded long enough, gently poke it with your finger, and if it bounces back without sticking, it's ready to rise. Grab a large bowl and grease it lightly with some olive oil and turn the dough to coat all sides. Cover the dough and let it rise until it's doubled in size, about 60 to 90 minutes. When your dough is ready, preheat your oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit, 246 degrees Celsius. Pizza needs a very hot oven. Uncover the dough, and we're going to divide it in half. First, deflate it, punch it down lightly, let all of that air deflate out. Let's lightly flour a work surface for dividing the dough in half. Again, this makes 2 pizzas, and if you don't want 2 pizzas, you can freeze the other half. So I'm just going to set one of these aside for later. With the dough you're working with, shape it into a disc, and then we'll set it aside and prepare our pizza pan. Lightly oil your pizza pan. I like to use a pastry brush to spread it all around. Always comes in handy. And then I like to sprinkle a little bit of cornmeal on top. This gives the bottom of the crust extra flavor and a little extra crispy texture. All right, now we can flatten and shape the pizza dough right on the prepared pizza pan. And I'm just using my hands for this, very gently stretching it to the edges of the pan. If the dough resists at all, give it a break, cover it, leave it alone for 5 to 10 minutes, and then come back to it to let the gluten settle. To shape, I'm pressing the dough out to create the edge of the crust, and just keep working it, going around. This half will make 1 12-inch pizza. Lightly cover the crust and set it aside for a few minutes as you get your toppings ready. For today's pizza, I'm keeping it really simple. Some sauce, some shredded mozzarella, and when the pizza comes out of the oven, we'll top it with some fresh basil. Before our toppings, I am going to brush the surface with a little bit of olive oil. But before I do that, I'm going to use my fingers and press it into the dough and create little dimples. And this is going to help prevent any air bubbles from forming in the pizza as it bakes. Olive oil, I'm making sure I get the edges too. This will help create a nice crisp crust. One more addition before I add the sauce, I like to add a little bit of fresh garlic right on top. That's the great thing about pizza. You can make it any which way you want. This is totally optional. You could also add some Italian seasoning blend, some fresh oregano. For each pizza, I usually top it with a half a cup of sauce and 2 cups of cheese. I use a spoon. I spoon it right on top and I spread it to the edges. For the cheese, just top it all over that sauce. If you don't want tomato sauce, you can use fresh pesto instead. For other toppings, you can add red onion, pepperoni, cooked sausage, peppers, whatever you'd like. This is ready to bake. It takes 13 to 15 minutes in your preheated oven. I'm going to add some fresh basil right now. This is also a good time to add some red pepper flakes if you'd like those. Oh, this looks so good. Hot, cheesy, melty, ready to slice. This recipe is so versatile. Not only can you make pizza, you can make breadsticks and garlic nuts, homemade hot pockets, stromboli, and calzones. Look for those recipes on my website and in my cookbook. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel inspired to try a new baking recipe today. Head over to my website for the full written recipe and all of my success tips. You can also ask a question right there on the recipe page, and my team and I will be happy to answer.